Thank you again for joining us. We are here to talk about ZTNA, which is Zero Trust Network Access, and how to add it to your service offering. So this should be good. It's a new fun topic. It's definitely a newer thing that I feel a lot of MSPs and providers like us are starting to talk about. So I'm excited to go through this one today. So before we get started, we're going to do a little housekeeping. Chat with us, ask questions. We put these on for you guys to help you learn and better educate yourself on these products. So if you have questions, put them in the chat or Q&A box. I'll collect those throughout, and then we will ask them towards the end of our time together. Also, we are recording this and we will share it with you probably in the next day or so. That way, if you missed anything or you want to share any information with a colleague, you can just share this recording with them. So you will get this in the next day or so. All right, so that's it for me. So it is my honor to welcome Mark Balaguer, who is one of our top systems engineers here at Barracuda MSP. Mark has actually been in the security network space for over 10 years, if I remember correctly, Mark. So he is truly an expert in this field. He is my go-to with questions about anything network security. And as I've learned more and more about ZTNA, I go and pick his brain as much as I can as well. So, but with that, you didn't come here to listen to me blab on about us. So I will hand it over to Mark and we can get going. Welcome, Mark.
All right, thanks a lot, Erin. Yeah, it's been a while in the industry now that you bring it up, but I think 2006 actually. So been a while, but yeah, seen a lot of things going on. Really appreciate everyone joining today. So just to kind of set the scene here, why we have a need for zero trust network access and why it's really important to kind of be aware of this new technology and understand it and how you can implement it for your customers and really provide the most secure environment that you can. It's really about what we see here, this changing business landscape. So I think we're all aware that remote work is here to stay. After the pandemic, everyone was forced to work remotely, but now people are getting used to that, and people are realizing that they can do maybe splits or work entirely remotely. But the bottom line is that this is part of the digital transformation, and so working from home is now going to be another piece of that. The other piece that really sticks out is the cloud adoption. Along with that pandemic and people working remotely, there was really a need for businesses to figure out, hey, we can't have all this staff on site to manage these services and these resources. So let's put those in the cloud too. And so now you're making that migration again at a very rapid pace relative to what people probably were initially planning on, but just making sure that you could sustain your business during that pandemic was really, really key. And so the other piece is down here. You see growing use of BYOD. That was kind of the other aspect of things, with a lot of businesses not able to really provide a corporate hardened device for everyone to roll those out so quickly, really in the matter of a couple of weeks for a lot of these businesses. It was the need to be able to support people working on their own personal devices, working from whatever laptop they had at home or whatever tablet they had at home, to make sure that again, that business could still stay up and running, and people could continue to do their jobs. And then the last one, the scariest one, the cyber threat landscape here. We're seeing cyber attacks happen every 39 seconds roughly. And so behind email, as the main one, there's all sorts of different varieties, but some of that danger that I kind of alluded to earlier with BYODs is that corporations don't have control over those, and so we could talk about some of those issues later in the presentation. But the bottom line here is that as an MSP, you really need to ensure that your customer data, devices, and employees are all protected, and those employees also still can retain their secure access and do their jobs with a fast connection to get access to that corporate information. And so that's kind of where we're sitting right now. Just a lot of changes in the architecture, and really these new requirements in kind of this new world that we live in because of everything that's gone on. It's just really accelerated the cycle of stuff that's going on. So I think there's a poll question now, just to kind of make sure everyone's in the right place, and we definitely want to hear your feedback about what you're seeing with your customers and what their struggles might be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this is something that, Mark, we kind of faced as we quickly went into everyone working remote, trying to find what is that one thing that, that's been a big struggle. It's managing the company computers. Does everybody have the right ones? Are they staying up to date? And then, like you said, people starting to use their own personal laptops, employee access through their personal laptops. We have a few others. It's an interesting time, and I definitely think, I could be wrong, but I think it's a time that's not done changing or transitioning yet. So I think, having
Hmm.
products like ZTNA can kind of help us keep some sort of, a good even balance and a good, even keel through the companies, even through this change, still again, a changing time of what we're going through. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
But that's my input. I could be, like I said, I could be completely wrong. Who knows?
No, no, you're absolutely right. I think the change is still happening. We're still in it, so we can't quite write the reviews yet. Companies are still adapting and figuring out, well, how are we going to do this? Are we going to issue everyone a corporate device, or is there a situation where the CEO comes in and just says, "Hey, look at my new tablet. I'm going to use it. Hey, IT, deal with it." You kind of have all over the map here, depending on what those customer needs and requirements are. But as an MSP, you want to be able to, be accommodating for whatever that business decides that their security plan or rollout wants to be.
Exactly.
So, any more feedback on the polls? I don't know if people wanted to put stuff in chat or had questions, but are we okay to move forward?
Yeah, I think we're good. If anyone has
You.
anything, go ahead and put in the chat or Q&A, and we can address it. But yeah, I say let's get into the meat of this.
All right. So the real important thing is how does this affect and impact the MSPs? And so we've kind of already touched on a lot of them, but the big ones are making sure that workforce protects corporate resources, making sure that people have the flexibility to work anytime, any place. This was starting to become an expectation before the pandemic happened, and now it's just really been a fact. People have to be able to work from outside of the office. And going along with that, number three, making sure that it's secure. And so that's really the key pieces of why we're talking about this today. And so a lot of people, I'm sure, will say, "But wait, VPN does that. Why do I need anything?" Well, that's true. VPN was able to help with that. That's what everyone used to connect remotely. But realistically, it was designed for a handful of users and a different architecture than what we have today. So it was developed in the 90s, and a lot of things have changed since then. So you don't have that centralized kind of hub and spoke environment where everything connects to a single site, and that same site also has all the resources. Now you've got stuff kind of scattered all over the world, and so it's just not a great fit for the current architecture. So a couple of big issues with VPN. Again, it was a great security for its time. With that architecture, it was a great fit. If there was just a handful of people working remote, it was great because the IT staff, knew exactly who those people were. They had specific policies, built out for them. They, issued them corporate devices to connect with. So that's great. But now you've got situations where everyone had to work from home, and so now you're teleporting a device, into an organization. So yeah, that person who's working from home on their personal laptop, they basically just got a VPN client and some credentials that IT gave to them. And they said, "All right, we're working from home now because of the pandemic. Here you go." And unfortunately, unbeknownst to IT, that personal device hadn't been updated or had some vulnerabilities on it or had a keylogger on it or malware installed. And then, yeah, that user was going in and VPNing in and only connecting to the server that they needed to do their work. But there's really nothing preventing an attacker from going all over the environment in most cases once they got that access. And so really created some issues. The other piece being resource intensive, kind of going hand in hand with that. It's hard to build all those policies and keep them up to date when it's more than just a handful of people. So again, really just wasn't designed for that. Not really suited for BYOD or these days if you've got contractors or gig workers coming in, you're never going to control their device, but you still need to give them access. So some real challenges there as well. And then the last piece, not really cloud ready. So again, going back to the point where VPN really designed for kind of a hub and spoke environment where everything's in one place. Well, now organizations have offices, all over the country, even all over the world. They've got things stored in multiple data centers, public cloud environments. And so this has been an issue in, I would say, like the software development industry for quite a while, where people are having to VPN to one location to get access to a certain resource, VPN to another location to get access to another resource, or go to the Azure cloud for this, go to the AWS cloud for that. And so it's really a constant, make a VPN connection, disconnect, make another VPN connection, disconnect. And so it gets really cumbersome, really tiresome, really annoying. And as more and more what we'd say, traditional organizations kind of move to that model, VPN is just not a very good fit for that, because it's constantly logging on, logging off, and can create kind of a real headache for people. So that said, leads up to this statement: to be successful in today's business environment, you need access through ZTNA. And it's we'll talk about the different aspects of it, but essentially it is the better way to do things. It's a newer technology, much newer than VPN, and the idea was really kind of pioneered that we're not just going to trust someone based upon the network they've joined, but a solution really designed for today's more modern architecture. So kind of what I alluded to, trust and verify doesn't really work. So ZTNA, we're going to make sure that we know who this user is. We're going to make sure that they're authorized to get access to a specific resource, not an entire environment. And we're also going to make sure that that device that they're trying to access with is up to our standards of safety and security. So making sure that there's like an antivirus that's up to date and loaded on that device, or making sure that the operating system of that device is up to date, or forcing reauthentication over a certain period of time. All these different things and checks, we can make sure that, hey, this is a device that we feel comfortable letting into the environment, and then going ahead and then finally giving that access after we've decided that we trust that device. So digging into a little bit more depth, what is it? It's the new alternative to VPN. It's also a piece of secure access software service edge, or SASE. The idea being that you want to go ahead and make sure that you have secure connectivity and also can leverage WAN connections and virtualizations throughout the globe. But this is a very, very key piece of that, especially for MSP customers. Probably not a lot of them have multiple WAN connections and a huge amount of locations scattered around. But that secure access is still a key feature of key importance. And the idea being that we're going to continuously verify that the right person is getting permissions only to the specific resources that they need. The best way I like to describe this, if we want an analogy, is that if you are using VPN, that's going to be like getting access to, say, a football stadium. You go in, you scan your ticket, maybe run through the metal detector, but then once you're in, you kind of have the freedom to walk around wherever you want, go to different concourses, visit different concession stands, go to different levels. You're in, so they're just like, yeah, go ahead and do whatever you want. Well, with CloudGen Access, it'd be more like trying to go visit the warden at a prison. So yes, you're going to get checked at the door, but you're also going to get checked at every corridor, every hallway, every gateway, to make sure that you are in the right place, and you're only going to get access to that specific resource you need. So that's kind of the key difference between that traditional VPN and CloudGen Access. It's just a much more secure and flexible way to do things with these more modern architectures. So ultimately, the goal of CloudGen Access is to securely connect any user from any device to any resource, regardless of where it's hosted. Some kind of key facts about it. It's broken into three pieces. One piece is an application that's available for pretty much any operating system. Users can download it in the App Store for Apples, for Androids, downloadable for any operating system via the website. So lots of flexibility, and it's really self-service. So users can go ahead and download it on whatever device they want to use. They'll get an enrollment link that you provide to them through the management portal, and then that enrollment link will then grant them access to all of the resources that you've decided that they can have access to. And then the last piece is called the Cloud Generation Access Proxy. And that's basically a gatekeeper that you're going to put where the resources are. Again, very flexible. Everyone has different resources, setups. Are you in Azure or AWS? You bare metal? systems. So there's no limit to the number of proxies you can set up as well. So the idea being that once a user types in a resource into their, say, their browser, Cloud Access application is going to know exactly where that resource is and then redirect the traffic to that location. So there's no more connecting, disconnecting. When they get access to the resource, the application is going to take care of facilitating that secure connection wherever that resource is housed. And so very, very seamless for the end user. They don't have to know or care where that resource is housed. They're just able to go about their day, do their work, make sure, that as a manager, you make sure that they're getting access only to the specific resources that they need. But beyond that, it's a pretty seamless experience for them. They don't have to worry about anything. And again, the way it's set up, if I'm sitting at home, I can use my home internet connection. If I'm sitting in a coffee shop, I use the coffee shop internet connection. Maybe I type in weather.com into my browser. I'm going to go straight out to weather.com. Nothing's going to happen. I can check the weather. If I type, hey, my company.myresource.com, Cloud Access app is going to know that that's a resource, and then securely connect that user to that resource after, of course, they've been after, of course, it's been decided that they've been authorized to get that connection. So I'm talking a little bit more about how to bring Cloud Access to the market. This is kind of where we get to those 5 points of the steps that you as an MSP are really going to want to consider when bringing it to your customers. So we can just kind of go down the list here. First off, determining which of your customers are going to be a fit for ZTNA. Generally speaking, the more valuable an organization's data is to them, the more low-hanging fruit ZTNA is going to be to offer them. So anything related to healthcare, finance, anything related to compliance should be a pretty easy discussion to have with them. My personal opinion is that this is quickly going to become a standard and a requirement, especially after some of the breaches we've seen recently around the world. The big one, most recently, I would say, is that oil pipeline in the southeastern United States. A lot of this is quickly becoming integrated into standards, and so I would expect it, probably in the next year or so, to become part of a compliance requirement for a lot of these organizations. The other interesting thing I've started to notice is related to cybersecurity insurance. I'm a security guy. I really wish people would just adopt the security because it's the best way to do things. It's the right way to do things. It's the way that's going to protect environments the best. But sometimes people see the dollar amount and they're like, I don't want to do that. We can wait. It won't happen to me. That sort of thing. So definitely taking the gamble there. Well, cybersecurity insurance companies have kind of been dealing with a lot of rough situations and paying out a lot of ransoms, and they're tired of it. So they're saying, look, if you don't have a ZTNA solution in place, we're going to exponentially raise your rates or potentially just drop you entirely because you're now seen as a risk to us. And so they're kind of at the forefront of dealing with these ransomware attacks and stuff like that. And they're saying, look, if you're not going to be as secure as you can be, you're a liability to us, and we're just not going to insure you. So any of your customers that have requirements around cybersecurity insurance, this is going to be a great solution. I've actually seen situations where people have been coming to us and saying, hey, we need to talk more about this. My client, kind of came to me and asked me about it because they just saw a quote from their insurance company that was 10 times what they're used to paying. And so this quickly becomes very worth it. And that's kind of the piece that, for the next step, make sure you educate your customer base so they know the value of this. They know why they need it. Some of the talking points that we went over earlier. Hey, this is why it's important. You want to protect your remote users. You want to protect your infrastructure in the best possible way. And VPN just really wasn't designed to do it, with this more modern architecture. And kind of the last thing, see what they say, figure out how you want to set it up with them. Do you want to offer it, as its own solution? Do you want to bundle it with maybe a firewall solution? So this is vendor agnostic as far as firewalls are concerned. But if you do have a Barracuda firewall in place, there are some benefits. That proxy piece that I mentioned is actually built into the firewall already. So less you have to deploy, but there is no requirement to have other Barracuda products in place. But sometimes it's nice to offer kind of that complete package, saying, look, we got your network covered, we got your different branch locations covered with the firewalls, but for remote users, we've also got the opportunity to do CloudGen Access, so they're the most secure as well. And then the right price per user. Definitely have a conversation, with your customers. Have a conversation, with your sales team. Make sure that you're making something that's feasible and going to be valuable to your customers. I'm an engineer, so I don't get involved in a ton of those conversations. But yeah, absolutely make it, show the value to your customer. How much is that cybersecurity insurance policy going to cost you if you don't have this? And it's from everything I've heard, it's quite a bit more. It's better to get this from a dollar perspective, but it's better to get this from a security perspective. Make them as safe as possible. And then the idea that if this is coming in a standard very soon, which, like I said, I am of the opinion that it will be a standard very soon. You want to be able to have this as an option for your customers to go ahead and implement it right away. So if they're coming to you say, "Oh, we need to be compliant. This is part of the compliance." Say, "Yeah, no problem. We've had that in our portfolio for a while. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get you set up." So it's really kind of, like I said, the five focus points you want to take away from this, and make sure that you can communicate that to your customer, show them the value of this. And like I said, anything financial or healthcare, where their data is valuable, where there's a lot of compliance around it, that's kind of the low-hanging fruit. So I just recommend starting there. So some of the best fits, I think we hit on a lot of these, but BYOD is going to be a huge one. Making sure that those people can use whatever device that they want. I mentioned contractors earlier, so maybe you've got a contractor coming in that needs to fix the air conditioner, and that controller is on a specific server in your environment. You can say, "Look, I get it. You need to fix the air conditioner. We all want that. And I also know that I'm never going to be able to control that device, but go ahead, download the CloudGen Access app. I built you a profile that's going to give you access only to that server that has the controller on it. And I'm also going to make you re-authenticate every half hour, say, because I don't want you on the network any longer than you have to be. And oh, by the way, I know you're supposed to come back next week, but I'm going to disable your device until you come back next week, because I don't want you or someone else coming back later on trying to possibly steal information. I don't know who uses this device. I don't know if it's yours or if it gets passed around the company. But I'm just going to make sure we're secure. But hey, you can still get access to do your job, as long as you're within those compliance requirements. So really good way to be able to do that. Remote access management, really kind of a staple. It's not really an option anymore. And then continuous access, people working around the world, different time zones. Everyone's going to need access at some point in time that may be different than that traditional 9 to 5 in a certain time zone. And so this is all different pieces that all kind of tie into that. What is remote access used for, and how do you grant remote access? So if that's ever brought up in a conversation, you kind of know that CloudGen Access is something that you're going to want to discuss. And so if they're not bringing it up, what are some of the questions that you can ask to go ahead and kind of pull it out of them? Say, first off, VPN, how's that working out for you? Well, pretty difficult, hard to manage. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about CloudGen Access. Software as a service for critical applications. This is a really cool feature of CloudGen Access. So you can go ahead and, like I mentioned before, companies putting resources, into data centers, into the cloud. Also a big shift to leveraging software as a service. So, hey, I don't want to, Microsoft 365, easy example. Hey, I don't want to maintain this email server anymore. I'm just going to run it through 365. That's great. But in theory, or not in theory, but technically, you've kind of shifted that once internal resource, totally internal resource, to the public cloud space. Yes, you have your own portal, and yes, you have your own specific login to get to that. But in theory, an attacker could figure out what that address was and try to get in. And unfortunately, not in theory anymore. I heard of a situation a couple of weeks ago where a company had that exact thing happen to them. The attacker tried to break into a bunch of their accounts. Fortunately, they didn't succeed in breaking in, but they actually ended up locking a bunch of the accounts. So it still kind of took them offline for almost a day. So CloudGen Access is able to use something called conditional access with these software as a service providers. So you can basically set up a situation where, look, I'm only going to allow access to, say, my 365 environment from the IP address of my CloudGen Access proxy solution. So now only people who are being vetted and trusted and checked are going to get access to this portal. So if an attacker, maybe had gotten a username and password from a keylogger on someone's vulnerable machine when they were working from home, even if they had the correct set of credentials, username and password, they still wouldn't be able to get access because they're not coming from a trusted IP range. So it's a great way to provide additional protection for these resources that are in the public cloud, but still have the potential to be getting attacked. Tying right into that, the growth plan. As more and more things move into the cloud, that VPN doesn't become as convenient because you're having to start and stop connections depending on where those different resources are. What is your security risk tolerance? That is always a tough question, a tough conversation to have because everyone, I would hope, wants to be the most secure, but this is kind of where that cybersecurity insurance comes into play. And they're like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We got the cybersecurity insurance. We're fine. We can deal with it if something bad happens. Maybe in the past, but the stories I'm starting to hear, it's going to get real expensive real quick if they don't have a solution like this in place. And then the last one, maybe I would have put first. I don't know. They're all bundled together, but just talk about ZTNA as a whole and just let people know, hey, this is what it can do. And a lot of times, people can kind of draw their own conclusions and say, yeah, this fits our architecture better than a VPN. This fits our model better than a VPN. So let's try to move forward with that. Customer benefits. I would say the biggest one here is that it's a seamless experience for the end user. That application is working in the background, like I said, to intercept the DNS requests for things that have been defined as an internal resource, and then letting everything go, so they can leverage their standard internet connection wherever they are to get access to that. So much more lightweight than VPN. I don't know if anyone's had the not fun experience of trying to run a VPN connection over like a mobile device. It just sucks the battery. It's a slow connection because you're building the tunnel, then you're shuttling things through the tunnel. This uses MTLS, so much more lightweight, really designed for tablets, mobile devices. And it's just a better seamless experience for them. So they don't have to, like I said, know or care where that resource is. They can just automatically get access to it. The other nice thing, we hit on most of them as far as like the contractor access, but direct access to the resources and apps. So we're not running that through like a Barracuda cloud or someone else's cloud or kind of zigzagging around the internet. It's creating a direct connection between that user and their device to that resource. And so that's a great benefit. You're going to have a better user experience because of that. And then the last piece I'll mention here, from a user perspective, that application that's running on their device that's kind of facilitating all these secure connections, really designed to be helpful and self-provision, help people self-provision stuff. So if for some reason, maybe their operating system, is out of date, they haven't updated in a while, they're not able to connect because of it, the app's going to pop up and say, look, you need to be at least this version of the operating system before you're compliant. Once they go do that, those connections will automatically happen again. There's nothing else that they need to do. Whereas with the VPN, if the tunnel doesn't come up, hey, call IT, do some troubleshooting because they don't get much feedback besides tunnel not coming up. So that's another nice piece of that. So really take away those VPN trouble tickets because the user can say, oh yeah, shoot, I forgot to install that latest update on my iPhone. So yeah, let me do that. And as soon as they do that, they'll get access pretty much immediately. So next steps, definitely check out CloudGen Access on our website. Reach out to your rep. Happy to, I'm sure they'd be happy to get some demos set up with you, have further discussions about it, get you some data sheets or more information. And then we do also have programs available to get some licenses, give it a try, test it out internally, make sure you understand it, and then can sell it to your customers. That's usually the most effective way. Once you're kind of drinking your own Kool-Aid or eating your own dog food or whatever you want to call it. You can really show it to your customers, demonstrate the value there, and show them what they can be able to do with it. So that's all I had. We do have some upcoming events. Just take a look here at the online calendar.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everyone's time.
Yeah, this is great, Mark. And like I said, I always learn something new about this product every time we host one of these together. So I appreciate it. But yeah, just so people can know that we have some upcoming events just like this one. We actually have one tomorrow. It talks about advances to our multi-layer protection. We're actually talking to some of our Scout colleagues through our acquisition of Scout Cybersecurity and what they can offer MSPs. We have our virtual lunches for November setup. And then we have some of our other product-focused webinars scattered throughout November. As you can see, we have some spread out dates there. If you plan on attending IT Nation Connect down in Orlando, November 10th through the 12th, we will be there as well. So feel free to stop by and see us actually in person. That is what we have going on. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat and Q&A. I have a couple here already. Mark, that I'll touch with you, and then hopefully we'll see if we get one or two more in. But if you're ready, so they're asking, should we offer both VPN and CloudGen Access / ZTNA to our customers as part of a multi-layered security offering that we keep talking about, or should we just do one or the other?
Ideally, you would just want to have CloudGen Access in place. It's the better security solution. But that said, if you want to start out with maybe just a couple of users on CloudGen Access and then slowly migrate everyone over, that's something you can do as well. So you can have both of them running together. But ideally, yeah, you would want everyone on CloudGen Access because that's the most secure way to do things. A colleague of mine, made a great analogy. He's saying, all right, you basically with all these different options, if you think about your resources or your data center or whatever as your house, and you have all these different doorways to get into it. CloudGen Access is just the most secure doorway, but if you still want to let people through the VPN doorway, you can. And then as you have the time to do those changeovers, you gradually close off those doorways until you're only left with the most secure doorway being CloudGen Access. So that's the ideal situation. But yeah, obviously, there are migration paths that are available. Whatever is going to work for your customer.
Awesome. All right. So does CloudGen Access only protect cloud applications, or does it work for on-premise networks and apps and things like that as well?
Oh, yeah, great question. Basically, any resource, any location, doesn't matter. In the cloud, on-prem, even software as a service, like I mentioned. Yeah, designed to protect all those resources and only grant secure access to the specific users that should be allowed to have them. But again, doesn't matter where that resources is located.
Okay, perfect. And the last one that I have so far, so if anyone else has anything else, how does this product compare to like an SSL VPN?
I mean, so an SSL VPN is basically gonna, in most cases, going to be like the portal, designed to give specific access to different people. There's a lot, kind of a big umbrella with SSL VPN, but again, it goes back to the security. This is going to be more secure. There's more consistent, posture checks, making sure that the device is up to date, and again, easier to manage in the sense of defining who gets access to what resource. So yeah, there are some comparisons, but a lot less overhead with CloudGen Access. And generally a better user experience because of that.
Awesome. All right. And I totally spaced because I got into our questions. We do have a quick little survey that I just popped up. If you guys wouldn't mind just taking it, it just takes a minute, if even that, to fill out. When you guys fill these out, it helps us kind of prep these and make sure that we're giving you the right information on these webinars, and it is what you're looking for. So We'll just leave this up for a few minutes, but thank you everyone for your time today. Thank you, Mark, for stepping away and joining us and going through this excellent new product and how we can add it to our service offerings. As I mentioned before, we did record this, so everyone will receive access to the recording either later today or first thing tomorrow. So with that, thank you, everybody. We hope you have a great day and a great week.